So think of Descartes as implicitly raising a Zeke kind of question when he asks, how do I know that I'm not dreaming? How do I know that I'm not being deceived by, for example, a supremely intelligent evil genius, one of the characters that he conjures up in the course of his writings? He writes, whether I'm asleep or awake, it still seems like 2 and 3 make 5, and a square does not have more than 4 sides. It does not seem possible that such obvious truths should be subject to the suspicion of being false. And notice that even if you're in Zeke's vat, you can still do some mental arithmetic. You can still do some mental geometry. You can still sit there and perform calculations, can't you? Of which those things could be you could be sure, perhaps, because whether or not you're embodied or disembodied, that is your brain, is inside your cranium or not, still you can do mental math, can't you? To which Descartes replies, well, since I judge that sometimes others make mistakes in matters they believe that they know most perfectly, maybe I, in like fashion, could be being deceived every time I add 2 and 3, or count the sides of a square. Descartes says, maybe I shouldn't even be sure about these things. Maybe I should leave open the possibility that somebody's deceiving me when I do even mental math. At this point, Descartes says, I feel a little bit like I'm in a deep whirlpool. Maybe I'm like a prisoner who enjoyed an imaginary freedom during his sleep, and now I wake up, realize that I'm still in prison. And he ends that meditation by suggesting, well, what then will be true? Perhaps just the single fact that nothing is certain. That is, Descartes has now raised what is now known as radical skepticism, the idea that we can be sure of very, very little. At this point, he says, maybe even nothing at all, that nothing is certain. That is to say, when we're trying to reconstruct our putative knowledge, we've perhaps raised things to the ground all right, but the process of trying to build back up seems hopeless. Maybe we should be careful what we wish for. Maybe we shouldn't have knocked everything down, because now Descartes is worried that perhaps we'll have no way of pulling ourselves out from this whirlpool and rebuilding our knowledge base in a way that can allow us to say that at least some things we know to be true. And the next meditations, as we move on to the next class meeting and next lecture, we'll see how Descartes tries to respond to this problem.